A Montrealer is getting one step closer to achieving his dream of one day playing in the National Football League. Evans CHUBA grew up in Pierrefonds. He recently received a football scholarship to a school in Florida, the Clearwater International Academy. He is ranked 69th amongst quarterbacks his age in the United States, and Evans believes that one day he could earn a place in the top 10. Evans joins us now on Montreal Now to share his story. Welcome.
How you doing?
I'm great. It's nice to connect with you. So congrats on kickstarting your career in the States. When did you know you wanted to be a football player professionally?
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, so, for me, the dream started pretty young. I started playing football when I was about 5. From then, I've just been working. And, it's obviously when you're young, it's not as concrete as when you get older. But, as the work goes on, the vision solidifies. So, when I was about, I'd say 13, 14, I knew the next step would be getting to the States. So that's what I did about a year ago. So I've been in the States for about a year and a half, and it's been great. The exposure and the culture and the development has just been, unimaginable. So it's great.
You sound like such a serious young man. I know that every young girl and boy sometimes thinks about taking their sport to the next level, but you got serious about this at a pretty young age, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so tell me about the business you started. You were 14 years old. Why did you create a side hustle?
Yeah, well, it's funny enough. I wanted to go to one of these camps in Louisiana called the Manning Passing Academy when I was about, I'd say 14. I forget, maybe just around the quarantine age. So yeah, I wanted to go to that camp. It was about $2,000. My mother couldn't afford it, so I told my mom, okay, I'm gonna have to make the money on my own. So I did my little research and I found ways I can make money, off side hustles and little businesses. So I just started a lawn care business. So I'd go around my neighborhood with one of these, lawnmowers, and I just cut people's grass for $20, and that's how I started. And then I got into, reselling items, such as shoes and other objects, and and then I went into online business and investments. So it's been pretty good. It was very good entrepreneurial era, so it was fun.
Okay, so you're balancing being a high school student, being a football player, and then you're also helping to raise money for your own football camp on the side with all these projects.
Yeah, exactly. So that was pretty much, what it was, when I was back in Canada. It was just, mixing, business and football. And ultimately, it was just kind of like, something I do on the side. Football's always been the main focus, and, ultimately business was, just fueling the football. So, but as soon as I got to the States, you don't really have time too much for that, as far as, just literally just time, but also energy. You want to keep your mind, focused on the prize, and that's football. So recently I haven't been too much into that, especially as stuff starting to ramp up and going to university. So, yeah.
I want to ask you about that in a second. Evans CHUBA grew up in Pierrefonds, and he's trying to get into the NHL. He wants to be a professional football player, is now based at a school in Florida. So tell me about your mom. And is it right that she's a single mom?
Yeah, so my mom's a single mom, and since the age of 4, she's been doing a hell of a job raising me and my brother, providing me with everything I need, to, just follow my goal and follow my dream. So she's been doing a hell of a job, and I'm gonna make sure I give her whatever she wants when I make it.
So this must be a lot of pressure for you, though, because now you've moved. You're not on your home base anymore. You're in a different country, and you're trying to keep your eyes on school, but also excelling in sports. So what is a typical day like for you?
Yeah, well, it kind of varies depending on the period of the year, and obviously it's gonna vary. But a typical day is just it goes. Obviously I'm gonna have a training component, so I'm gonna go in the weight room and build my frame up, and then obviously, and then I'm gonna go to the field and throw the football. Yeah, obviously it's gonna be at different spots in the day depending on the day, but those are the two main things. And then I'm gonna also do some studying of the game of football. So that's pretty much it. And then if we're in school, I have school, and obviously the main thing is just resting and recovering, be able to actually benefit from the work you do.
What's your major?
So I want to do a master's in business administration.
Okay.
So I kind of want to go into that as soon as I get to college.
You sound so focused and so studious. What do you do for fun? When do you get to let off steam?
Yeah, well, this is fun for me. I love playing football, so that's the main thing for me. And if I'm not playing football, I'm always I could be finding anything to do with the guys, and I like to play basketball as well. Just hang out with my friends. We find new stuff to do every single day. So, yeah.
Evans CHUBA is a Pierrefonds native who is got his eyes on the prize of one day playing in the NFL. So you're currently playing for the football team at your school. How would you get to the NFL? Like, what would be the next step for someone who doesn't know how that system works?
So right now I'm in high school, and then, the next step obviously is getting to D1 college. And what I did, so I'm committed to Washington State University, which is a Power 5 program on the West Coast. So obviously is going over there and dominating for the next 3 to 4 years. And from there, building myself a good resume and a good profile and getting the name out there so I can make it to the league eventually. So
do you have a team? Is there a team in the NFL that you'd like to play for?
Not necessarily. Okay. I'd definitely be grateful for any blessing to play for any team, whatever it is. I'm from Canada, so any city in the States would be a new discovery for me, so that'd be fun.
And if the CFL ever came calling, would you answer that?
That's a good question. My goal is the NFL, and I'm going full in on that one, and I'm gonna do whatever I got to do in my power to make that happen. So, if something's not working in the current moment, I'm gonna just work 10 times harder to make it happen. So. No, I don't got plan Bs. I just have plan As and different ways to get there.
Evans, what would be your advice to someone who's in 12, 13, thinking about making a life in professional sport?
I mean, the first step into separating yourself with anybody else is just knowing what you want to do. So a lot of kids are, at a young age don't really necessarily know what to do, which is kind of understandable. But if you want to, succeed, you have to clear cut know what you want. And that's really the first step. And then from there, just identifying, what you need to do and always remaining, honest with yourself and telling yourself whether you need to improve or not. And from there, just do the work. And when you do the work, just remain consistent with it. Because consistency is always going to be intensity any day of the week. So that's what I got to say.
Evans, your confidence and your passion, it's contagious. So it was really nice to meet you. Best of continued success.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.